Hey guys, it's heyteacherraf@gmail.com. Click subscribe and see more tidbits like this. Today, I want to answer all of your crazy fun questions. Yeah, hoo hoo hoo. Yeah, so when I woke up this morning to an avalanche of questions, which I loved, thank you so much. Awesome. I didn't expect that, and I'm just so thankful and grateful for that. It kind of reminds me of that movie that Will Ferrell and Tina Fey just starred in, Avalanche. Reply in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. Lee asks me, go to her channel and click subscribe. She's got all kinds of great videos, especially technical ones, because she's a really great teacher. She asks me, would you rather jump out of an airplane or jump off a cliff? Cliff, are you kidding me? Never. Airplane, yeah, absolutely. I've done it. It's so fun. And you know what the craziest part of my experience was? That when I jumped out of this airplane, which by the way, believe it or not, it actually had holes in the floorboard. It had one seat for the pilot and it was completely flat from front to back. There was nothing in that plane. I'm telling you, nothing except a chair and then holes, okay? And it was rattling. I wanted to jump off that plane more than I wanted to sit on that plane. True story. Also, when I jumped out of the airplane, it didn't feel like, because the human brain needs something to compare the perspective to, and because our body isn't touching the ground, our brain can't understand what's happening. So the brain doesn't realize that you're falling. It thinks it's coming to you, whatever, that the ground is coming to you. So it seemed like I was in a computer game, and the ground was coming to me instead of I'm going to the ground. I know, bizarre, but yeah, the human brain without a point of reference is just so crazy, and it was so much fun and such a rush. And I did it in November back east, and it was so neat because there wasn't any snow on the ground, and the leaves were in the process. There were still some leaves were still fall colored, and then some leaves were already like winter, kind of like dying. So it was such a cool contrast as you um, as I got closer to the ground, uh, just all the details and all the color, it just became more vivid. It was so neat. It was just like opening up all the details. Really cool experience. I definitely recommend it. Teacher Lee also asks, have you ever ridden a horse? I have ridden a horse and I liked it, but I like horses. I like animals, but I don't know if I like riding horses. It's kind of painful. Not because I got tossed off. Have I ever played the drums? I have played the drums. I'm two left hands or arms or whatever, legs. I can't play the drums to save my life. Have I ever been to some famous countries or cities? Absolutely. And I've seen some famous monuments like the Eiffel Tower. I've been to what is it called? The Golden Eye in London. Um, I've been to the Holy Lands in Jerusalem. I've been to Rome. So I've traveled quite a bit, and there's so much to see in this world. I traveled a lot when I was younger, and I do travel from time to time, but when I was younger, I was just jumping on trains and going everywhere and spending very little money, being able to barely eat and get through the day. I don't know if I could do that today. Teacher Lee also asks me, have I ever made clothes? I haven't, but I guess it would be a kind of a cool pioneer type of experience. I did make a model airplane and a model car when I was a kid, absolutely. But my biggest claim to fame about making something, in third grade, we had this science fair, and so I had to make a science project. And so my dad took me to the library, and we started looking for books on how to make these science projects, because you know how kids are. They're coming in with all these cool things, and I'm like, I have no clue how to make that. So my dad found this book on how to make paper, like from scratch. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, it's a little red book. And I started reading all the ingredients, and you basically, make some kind of like a liquid putty type of material, and then you get a bunch of I don't know, wire, I guess you could say, and you kind of fold it like that, and then you put the liquid stuff on top of the wire, and then you put the wire bedding in like an oven, and then you bake this and then it makes paper. It was the coolest thing, and we wrote on it. And yeah, my science experiment was a piece of paper this big, and everyone was bringing in these huge things. And guess what? I won. I placed in that science fair. Teacher Lee also asks me, have I ever sold pens, paper, or toys? Well, when I was a teenager, young, I think I was about 14, 13, 13. I think it was 13. I had this idea of selling all the used things in my closet, like batteries and pens and clothes and whatever. And so my neighbor had this huge fold-up table, and so he and I set up this like, like a yard stand, like a yard sale thing. And so we try to sell all these things, but I overpriced everything, so no one bought anything. Teacher Lee asks if I've ever met any famous people. I have. I've met a ton of famous people. I used to work at a hotel, a business hotel, way, way back when, and many famous people would come through, like even WWE wrestlers, if you remember, or what was it, WWE or WWF? Rowdy Piper and Goldberg. I met, Wilson Phillips, that music group, the lead singer. I met her, and I met. I can't even remember all the people I met. Kiefer Sutherland. He was as tall as me. I pretended I didn't know him. I met like Adam Yauch from the Beastie Boys. He wanted me to give him like a private phone because he had some gig in Park City. I met so many people. I can't even remember. But I didn't like really have a big conversations or long conversations with them. But I'll tell you something. I met a bunch of country not musicians, but the management of country musicians. I had no idea who they were because I'm not a big country fan. So back then, all of these country musicians were coming through. I didn't even know who they were. I mean, I may have talked to them, but I had no clue. And because I was in customer service, you understand. And so all of these managers were coming through from Tennessee, and they were by far the nicest human beings I have ever met in my life. So I met Carmen Electra once. Carmen was so fun. She just was, it was at this club, and she was so cool. She was just like posing and like letting me take pictures of her, because the thing was, I had gotten into this club like late, and so all the paparazzi that came and took photos of her, this was years back, they left. Like they did their thing and then they left, and I was like late to the party, so I came with my like little handy camera and I was like, oh my gosh. And she was so cool. She was doing all these poses, and she had like a boyfriend that was just sitting down and like hanging out with his friends. And then she had this bodyguard, and you couldn't tell he was a bodyguard because he was dressed like a regular person, and he was holding her purse. Well, it wasn't her purse he was holding. He was holding a purse to make you think it was a purse, but it was like a place where he put something to help out in case of emergencies, if you know what I mean. And he had one hand in there, and he had one hand like like I don't know what he was like holding it, holding the purse, one hand inside, and then he was like staring at me like crazy, and I'm like, whoa. Loretta asks me, go to her YouTube channel and click subscribe. Would you rather be guaranteed overnight classes every weekend, Friday night to Sunday morning, or Monday to Friday mornings, but have weekends off? Oh, I definitely would love to have weekends off. But see, because of this quarantine, I just want to work every day so I have something to do. But I used to have this crazy schedule. I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of teachers can relate, where I was working Friday and Saturday, like huge blocks of classes, 18 to 22 classes every day. So that was intense. And I did that so my week wasn't jam packed, but it was still jam packed because I was trying to get as many classes as possible. Now I've cut back because it's just too much for my health. I mean, I don't want to have like heart palpitations all day, you know what I mean? So yeah, I would try to go for weekends off. Well, maybe when all this crazy stuff lifts. Cindy asks me a ton of questions. Hilarious, crazy, off the wall, wacky questions. Love it. Thank you so much. Go to her channel, click subscribe. She's got all kinds of cool content on there. She asks me, What is one thing that happens in cartoons you wish would happen in real life? How about Roadrunner and Coyote Fox, or whatever his name was, Coyote, when the anvil falls on the bad guy? That's funny. Sometimes I wish that would happen in real life. Oh, I'm sorry. Funny, this next question about what is the theme song of your life, or would it be a flash mob inducing dance or whatnot? I was just thinking about that. We should do some kind of flash mob because we're quarantined, you know? It'd be so fun. There's so many great songs out there to choose from. I don't know if I can narrow down one song, the theme of my life. Wow, I love that question. I'm gonna give it some thought. My spirit animal is a hawk. Yeah, I've been told that by some people. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know how they figure this stuff out, but I'll go with it. Okay, cool. What is your least favorite Halloween candy? Mars bars. Because one time, I remember I was crazy for Halloween as a kid, and I would go and trick or treating for hours trying to get as much candy as I could. And you'd come home, and then you'd um, arrange all of your candy according to like food groups. Jelly, chocolate, whatever. And Mars bars were always like just like never ending, and I think I just OD'd on those Mars bars. I don't like those. My size, people think that I'm a smaller guy and I'm not as strong, but I'm really very strong. And on these stationary bikes at the gym, I mean, I can go 20 plus miles on that thing every other day. People think I'm lying. Some of my longtime friends were like, "You're just repasting, copy and pasting that, shot of the stationary bike." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. That's really what I did today." I haven't been on the bike for so long because of this quarantine, but I think they underestimate how strong and my perseverance, how much I can bike. I used to not be able to do that. It's just now that I'm older, I'm able to do it. I think it has a lot to do with lung capacity of all things, because oxygen is what your blood needs to create all that energy, and people don't realize it. They think it's all of these like super duper powder drinks and stuff. Yeah, they help a little bit, but when we're talking about perseverance, it's got to be inside you, otherwise no go. What is something that makes you feel like a little kid again, in a good way, a sound, a smell, etc.? I think this hat makes me feel like a kid. Every time I put it on, I feel like I'm a kid again. I mean, I really do. Sometimes when I'm walking during my daily walk and I'm listening to these fun dance songs, I feel like a little kid, and I just start uh, singing to the lyrics or dancing or thinking about jokes. I love that. And my friends make me believe I'm a little kid. My really close friends, I feel like I'm a little kid around them. I don't know why. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. If you could have one frivolous indulgence, what would it be? Wow, I think like a pool, a swimming pool that I could swim laps in. But I mean, if we could take it a step further, like a very nice warm beach. And I'm not talking about the sand, I'm talking about the water again, that I could just swim back and forth every evening at 8 o'clock, right at dusk for like 40 minutes. Oh my gracious, that's what I need. What is the strangest thing you had on a burger that you liked? Pineapple? What is the strangest thing you witnessed on public transportation? You don't want to know, trust me. What movie quote do you use most often in your day-to-day? I don't use it every day, but I use it from time to time because I used to have this roommate, which we're still really close friends years and years ago when we were both in school, and he would watch these movies from the 70s, and not only from the 70s, but he was a big movie buff from the 70s, and he would just rewind these movies and watch them all day long on VHS, and it drove me bonkers for the first like couple months. But then I got really into it, and he would like repeat these crazy quotes all the time. Sometimes they were comedy, and sometimes they were serious movies, and he always repeated. Um, Seems like we have a failure to communicate, and I love that. That's the funniest one. I like that a lot. If you could be a herder, dream come true. What would you herd? Goats. Have you ever seen goats like in person? They're crazy. They'll start eating your clothes. They'll jump off of you. You have to be careful. Those goats are nuts. I have always said if I could bottle up my kids' energy and sell it, I could be a millionaire. If you could bottle up something that, what would it be? My laugh, like my real laugh, like loud, crazy, long, earth-shaking laugh. And I would sell it. If I could laugh like that on command, I'd be a multi-billionaire in Hollywood. If you could taste the rainbow, what would the color VIP Kid Orange taste like? Whoa! Somebody's been quarantined way too long to come up with that kind of question. Orange sherbet? I don't know.